Well, let's see. So if we're flying, there's a couple questions. So we are a dude who is flying, and we run into a wall. Should we bounce off of the wall, kind of, donk, 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 sort of thing? Because we're flying, right? Like, how do we want our flying characters to kind of act? So we'll just write down some questions about flying. Should we bounce off of surfaces that we hit? If so, how should we bounce? Should we actually like try to bounce, with our velocity reflected about the normal to the surface, so that if we were heading downwards like this, we ran into a surface, we actually reflect our velocity like this, so we kind of, donk sort of thing, where it'd be a nice movement. Or do we do something else? So I think we should probably reflect our velocity over the normal of the surface struck. And we're going to have to do the same thing there, where we need to do a normal check to fuzz that up and make sure we don't have hard edge hits. Should we have friction? So if we're like running up against a wall here, and we're like holding the right key, should we move slower because like we're trying to collide? We try to move along the surface, kind of. Or should we basically just be like calculating your velocity and basically bouncing you off, so you run into it, you're like bam, and you kind of bam, 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 and kind of step along. It might be weird. Keep in mind, though, as well, we will not be really controlling any characters that are flying like this. This is really just going to be for AI that are trying to get to you. Or something like that. So they probably won't have too much in terms of intelligence, that they're actually not doing a whole hell of a lot. So I think really all of our rules for flying are get your wanted direction and velocity, go in that direction until you collide with something. If you collide with something, just reflect the velocity off of the object, and that's your current velocity. And there you go. Like, move to the point of collision, then continue moving. And we just kind of step in that way with a maximum number of iterations for our move. So the other question is, should we have some sort of ever-present gravity on our flying objects? Or should flying objects not really respect gravity? Such as, it would be up to the thing that is flying to make itself go down faster than it would otherwise. Like, if they want to do gravity, then they can just do gravity. Where if they're like an insect and they're hovering, and then all of a sudden they start swooping down, I mean, they can just say, well, I'm doing a swoop attack, or whatever the hell. So the other thing we could do is have like, we have the desired direction vector, like the desired velocity, which if the desired velocity was in this direction, Like you're actually holding it down, because if you hold down no buttons, your desired velocity is 0. So if your desired velocity is 0 and your momentum is greater than gravity, then by default you will stabilize in your velocity. So I think we do want to add in gravity. It's going to be offset by our ability to move to our desired 0 z velocity. That was off topic. I don't know, Lucas. Only some people can sing, no matter how much you practice. I think with a lot of things, just practice can do a lot. Practicing with song with lyrics. I don't know. Well, I don't think there's gonna be too many lyrics. I mean, we could always do like a Brackenwood theme song, kind of like Metal Gear Solid 3, like Snake Eater. Have like some overly dramatic, bitey of Brackenwood theme song. That'd be pretty awesome. Yeah. My voice came in like a wrecking ball, destroyed my eardrums. So I think we add in gravity. It's up to the controller to actually give us the correct movement. And we will just kind of bounce off of objects. And we'll apply a friction to that bounce. And that should just let us bounce around, and I think that'll work. I think we should probably be able to code that out pretty simply too. So I should probably just give it a shot. So let's take our flying, our in the air motion. So basically, our new velocity is going to be equal to our current velocity. Yeah, so we'll say if gravity affects our object, then our gravity force down delta t, we're going to increment our gravity velocity by that. We don't have a killed jump on this one, so that's not a problem. If you can control in the air, well, I would hope to God you can control in the air. It's a flying object, so we're just going to say like can move. Then we're going to apply these sorts of things. So we're going to have our y and our z and we're going to use our air control again. Or should we not use our air control? Should we use something else? We should probably be using our passive velocity and our... Yeah, we should probably be grabbing this constant, not our air control. So basically, our active velocity change, so if our wanted velocity and direction, it's really just going to be like if our wanted velocity that size squared is less than our passive velocity constant. Well, actually, there's no passive velocity for this, so we just want our active velocity change for everything. That's going to be our constant. Because we want this thing to return to, you know, the resting position properly. We're gonna have some kind of crappy duplicate code here just for a little while, because that's what we do when we're kind of trying to figure out exactly how we want this to work. So then we're gonna clamp our vertical and move speed. So basically we apply gravity, then we apply our wanted movement speed stuff. That way if gravity takes us down in a direction that we're able to overcome, then gravity gets totally negated. So our start position is going to be our new velocity times delta t. Our direction is going to be end position minus start position. Our move is going to be the normalized size. Direction is normalized. So if we sweep by the object movement and nothing is there, then we're just good to go. And our current velocity equals our new one. If we calc velocity, yeah, so we're good. We're good with that. So this takes into account our sweep of our movement. So let's say we actually run into something. We're also going to want to check here if our delta t is too low. I think we've got a min sim time. Yeah, so basically we're going to do an initial check of like if delta t is less than min sim time, just return delta t. Just be like, we're not going to simulate any more of this frame for this thing. So our collision hit, what do we want to do? We want to find the normal. Because how you find these things, if you're doing a reflection, so we have our normal, we've got our direction of motion, and we have our distance. So you multiply the direction of motion by the distance, and we have the incoming vector. So we have like, incoming vector is going to be just, yeah, we're just going to do our dir times our collision distance minus a tiny float. So that'll move us a little bit out. And what we'll also do is like if our collision distance is less than this tiny float, then we're not going to move. But yeah, so we'll have to also calculate our incoming vector a little bit differently. So we'll just have our incoming vector here. So if it's less than a tiny float, we're just going to say our incoming vector. Well, for our velocity, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, if incoming distance is greater than tiny float, then we can move. And really all we're going to do is try to set ourselves to that position. So it'd be like f vector new position equals this guy right here. So I should set ourselves to just shy of the wall. And then what we're going to do is an overlap test, just to make sure we didn't do something stupid. And if the overlap test lets us move in there, then we'll move in there. So this new position, we're going to just be like, if no overlap test, then internal set position, new position. So that'll move us to the wall. Now we need to reflect our velocity. So we've moved into the wall. The incoming vector is going to be basically what we want to do is we have the normal, and to reflect our velocity, you just take this vector, you project it onto no, he's from Rift Tracks and Mystery Science Theater, so yeah, I probably know exactly, because I used to watch bunch of Mystery Science Theater when it was on Sci-Fi Channel. Sorry, Lucas. I'm an hour 9 right now working, so my brain is kind of half shot. So if I miss a reference or don't get some, it's me. It's not you, man. I've been doing vector math all day, so my brain is mush. And the idea is that you like project this vector onto here, and then you can like add 2 times the vector that's, you like, if you take this vector, the vector to the wall or whatever, and then you, in that projection, and then you invert it, you get this. So you just take the impact point plus this like projection vector, and you subtract that, and then you just add 2 times this. Basically, you get that point right there, and you subtract the point to get this vector, and then you just add 2 times that one, and it gives you like the output vector that you want. It's not a bad purchase. Let's see if there is a reflect about vector in the F vector library, because there's like project onto. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a reflect or something like that on here. So let's see, is there a reflect? There's project. Alright, so it looks like we have project onto normal at least. So this will be the, we're going to project our direction. So we're going to project, it's going to be dir dot project onto normal. And that's going to be our, let's just say projection 1 equals this, and we're going to multiply this projection by a negative distance, collision distance. So yes, this is actually easier than this. It's basically, we're just going to have our velocity here, and we're going to reflect it about this thing. So it's just new velocity is going to equal new velocity minus 2 times the F vector, sorry, dot product of 2 vectors. Yeah, we just need the vector and then the normal, so new velocity, and then the collision hit dot impact normal multiplied by collision dot hit dot impact normal. And the dot product is doing all the stuff that we need here. So our new velocity has been reflected about our... Where did this come from? This is... It's greater than tiny float, then we actually move. Alright, so we didn't sweep. Yeah, okay, so this will reflect our velocity. Now we need to find out how much of our delta t we actually took out. So we need the... Basically we want the sub delta t. Yeah, I'll probably be done shortly. Wow, so you built like you bought a $200 servo puppet? It's an actual puppet, so you can... So it's the size of the bot. Wow. Well, that's pretty cool. You can go make your own Mystery Science Theater 3000 videos for all your friends. You could totally do like some Let's Plays with a friend or something, and then you could like sit next to him with a puppet and just trash talk all of his crappy plays. And welcome back, Ishu. Yes, we're trying to do the flying movement at the moment, and we're just doing some vector reflection across the normal for the velocity, and I just need to calculate the sub delta t. Sub delta t is going to basically be, it's going to be delta t minus basically the distance we traveled. So it's going to be the collision hit distance minus the... Well, just divided by the actual move distance that we wanted to go times delta t. So that should give us sub delta t, and basically what we want to do is return sub delta t. And I think that's flying motion just done, just right there. Like, I don't... It might just work. So let's give it a whirl. So prepare for everything to be completely screwed. So this is our flying motion, and we're already stuck. I can't move. Why not? So you're sweeping in the negative by our move distance. What is our direction? Our start position, our end position is start position plus new velocity times delta t, which is really small. So it's not a big deal. Anyway, we're gonna print out our information here real quick. So it's gonna be like info log. Let's see our... Yeah, we want our direction. So our direction is going to be... We want our velocity. So this is going to be new velocity. Are we not setting our new velocity correctly? We want current velocity to equal the new velocity that we just we just sat there, and that's probably what's going on. As soon as we collided with something there, we weren't setting our velocity anymore, so it was negative, negative, negative. We hit the ground, and then it never became positive because we weren't adding in our new velocity to our current velocity. So it was just, we hit the ground, and then we could never recover. That's why we couldn't take off again. So that's us bouncing. Bam, 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 bam. And it looks like, yes, we're able to move faster. Yeah, we can definitely move faster down than we can up. We're bouncing off all the things. Just what you'd expect. Basically, like, imagine that we are a mosquito trying to come after Fat Sack, right? We're going to be like, you know, kind of in the air, bouncing when we hit something to come after him, right? Because our AI is going to be stupid, so it's just going to, you know, be like bouncing off the wall trying to come get you, right? And then we'll get around the wall with, like, you know, some basic stuff where if it gets stuck, we'll have, you know, whatever. That's if we have mosquitoes chasing down Fat Sack. You know, the AI will just simply move through if it's doing like some little flying thing. Like I'm a little swarm of bees flying after Bitey. So I think the only thing we actually have to implement here is some sort of friction for us running into stuff. I'm kind of trying to get myself stuck on stuff. I don't expect stuck to be too much of a big of a deal, but it is looking like that's kind of what I want. Just nice movement, nothing too nuts. And I'm not too worried about getting stuck and going kind of slow against the wall. It's just not really a big deal to me. And the seams really aren't too bad. Like, we kind of bounce off of them, but this is more what I'm worried about right here is the unstuck from the wall stuff. So we can get stuck in the wall. So what we probably want to do is do an overlap check at the beginning and see if we're overlapping. And if we're overlapping, try to move ourselves out a little bit. But that can be kind of tricky. So why do we get stuck in the wall? Well, probably because our movement distance, like we're getting real close where we're moving into our object. So we'll make our two things real quick. We need our friction, so let's go ahead and add that. This is going to be our flying friction on bounce. And this is the percent of our momentum we conserve when hitting a wall. And we're just gonna put that on like 0.95 or something simple, so we conserve almost everything, because I don't think we want to do too much with that. So let's go ahead and do that. So if we do collide, we're basically going to say we're going to do new velocity times equals this flying friction on bounce things and movement data flying friction on bounce. The other thing is, why are we moving? I guess we could just do an overlap test right here on the new position, because we already did one on the other one, so we can just do like just only set ourselves if our overlap test succeeds. So let's take another look at it. Just a little sanity check, and that should just work. And yeah, flying movement and stuff like that should be a lot simpler than other movements, just because there aren't that many. Well, our characters, like our player characters, aren't going to be doing it, so that's not really something we have to worry about too much. You know, getting absolutely everything feeling perfect. Because it's okay if the enemies are a little weird sometimes or whatever. You won't really notice that as a player, that, oh, he's not moving exactly his maximum speed along this one wall when he does that one thing. You're like, yeah, it's not really a big deal. You can always do other things too with the enemies, like give them little sensors on them, so if they want to avoid flying into walls, they just avoid flying into walls. So let's try to get ourselves stuck. Can't seem to do it. Welcome back, Karakan. We're just testing out the flying movement to make sure that we don't get stuck in objects. Yeah, this is like our flying AI. Like if there's a bee swarm or something that's using it, this is kind of how they'd move along objects. Like imagine a mosquito trying to run after Fat Sack. That's what I was explaining earlier. Was he kind of try to go straight for him, and he's got a little bit. He's got a little bit of. He's got pretty good control of right now, but there's tunable things like we're using the same value. So like gravity is being applied to this creature. It's just it has the ability to negate gravity immediately because it has such good control over its environment. We could add a little bit more and it'd have a lot of trouble, like if you started going down. So why don't we just do that on Leah? This is FATSAC flying movement data, so all we have to do in here is change our it's the active change velocity, and if we did something real close to gravity, like gravity is at 10,000, so we're going to do like 12,000 for our active velocity change, then what should happen is like when we start going down, it's real hard for us to get back up. So we're trying to get back up. Yeah, we can bounce, but we're trying to get back up and we just can't. We're like, bounce, that sort of stuff. And what you do also is your AI would be the thing making you, like, if you're a swarm, it'd make the swarm kind of jitter around if it's not doing something. You'd apply a little bit of random floaty velocity to it. And I don't think the movement should do that. The AI should do that sort of thing. I mean, get in here and he's not getting stuck. So if a little mosquito got in here, it'd be able to weasel its way through. So let's just run over all our geometry still, because this was a little bit easier than the other, so I don't want to accidentally have an issue. It's looking like what I want. So I think I'll call that good. Cool. So let's just clean it up a little bit and do all the things. New velocity x, dir x should be that. Set that to 0, so we should set that there. We got all the little things going. The X and the Y are both being interpolated separately, so a little bit more precise control. And I think we're done with that. Let's just remove that. Let's just do a check here. If it didn't overlap at the new position, set it to new position. Just do it that way. So just set Fatsack back to his basic movement stuff. And then I think we're going to be done for today. Because the next ones are a little bit bigger. We got to animate the physics box and create multiple physics objects in the world that are dynamic and see how they play together. Which right now they absolutely would not play together well. At all. Be able to do some really crazy stuff. Be able to wall jump off of an enemy and like all sorts of just insane things that we do not want happening. So let's just set Fatsack back to his basic movement, which should be just as easy as clicking this guy and just doing Fatsack movement data and saving it. And when we hit play, will be normal Fatsack. Bonk, bonk. Excellent. So we are good to go. Let's do what we always do, revert our unchanged files, and we're just going to check it all in. See, flying movement, fixes to input data, smart object placement on spawn. Alright, that's it. Unless anybody's got any questions or something else, I am done for today. So if you got anything else, say it now, or don't. Well, yeah, Bitey will. We're probably gonna do some checks there. You know, if it's something that's wall jumpable, like we have the actors that we collided with and swept test forever. So we'll have like physics properties on there, like if you can wall jump off of this thing, and you know, it'll be the same thing we do with water. If there's like a water object you get on, and it'll do the same thing where it's like, okay, well, we can't collide with that thing, so we'll, you know, do the whole bitey sinking into it and all that fun stuff. All right, cool. Well, thanks for sticking around. We got a lot done today. We got the momentum in there. So we slide down slopes and all that fun stuff. We got the physics settings in there, so we can have different physics settings that we can save. So like a character that can run really fast, a character that can not slow down very well. You know, physics for when they spawn. Do they start on the ground, or do they start where they were, or whatever? And also a lot of toggles, like this character can wall jump or not wall jump. We hooked up all that data to blueprints so that we could easily access them later. The spawning stuff, and then we got the flying objects. So I think that's pretty good for one day. So tomorrow, when we're on, we'll probably be doing the animated physics boxes. So what that is, we got an abused Adam. Yeah, that was pretty hilarious. I told him where the A button was, and he nearly rage quit. He was like, "Yeah, fuck you, buddy. I don't think so." So we'll be doing the physics box animation stuff, which are just going to be kind of nuts. Basically, as they're animating, their physics box can change, and if we change the direction of the character, the physics box will change. And to make sure that we don't penetrate an object, we're going to be kind of fudging our physics. Basically, if you change your physics object and then it collides with the ground, we're just not going to change your physics object until we can. There's going to be some weird side effects of that, such as if you had a physics box which was supposed to change where Bitey's feet land, or something like that, they're not going to change until Bitey jumps, or something like that, which we can work around that really easily with our characters. Just make sure the bottom of the box is always in the same spot relative to the origin of the scene and stuff like that when we're drawing the character. But it does mean if somebody freaks out all the physics stuff and gets Bitey's like crouching physics over to where he shouldn't be because some weird crap happened, then you could basically, you know, you could have Big Mario, but have Small Mario's collision box for some reason. But as soon as you moved into a space that was big enough for Big Mario to exist, your collision box would be Big Mario. So theoretically, there's some crazy shenanigans that could happen with it, but at the end of the day, it should remain reasonable. And this is just for physics boxes. This is not for hit boxes. So you'd still be hit like you're Big Mario, but you could move like you were Little Mario. So you'd like be able to like run through something that you shouldn't be able to run through without doing something crazy. And the reason we're going to be doing that is because we don't have a good way to remove our object from something that they're penetrating. So, and the edge case there is so small. You'd have to do something absolutely nuts, and then, like, you'd have to do something like, if this was Mario, you'd have to get a Goomba like on top of you, or a shell or something to block your motion, and you'd have to move with it like on top of you while exiting some strange collision environment, which we didn't expect, in order to actually accomplish this. And if somebody can do that crazy bullshit, that also might be like good job. You deserve to have a smaller physics box and break the game. You did well. And then we'll get multiple physics actors in the same scene running with each other and doing all that. So thanks for joining me, and I will probably be back on tomorrow. Goodbye.